Welcome to Stress-Free Solutions with Sarah. I'm your host, Sarah Elise, a stress management and fitness coach, advocating the world to trust their gut more often. I discuss various ways to manage stress and share personal stories of guest experts who have gone through the same stressors as all of you at home. Hey there, super moms of the universe. Let's play a game called hide and seek. No, not with your kids or that mysteriously vanishing left sock. It's time to seek out you in the everyday hide and seek of life. Introducing Mastering the Soul System, a 12-week journey to reclaim your time and energy. This course is your gateway to finding balance, energy, and joy in every aspect of your bustling life. Picture this, 12 weeks where the words mom and mayhem don't always go together. Rediscover yourself with every breath in our Soulful Mind Weeks. Sing out loud in the shower or car, off-key is absolutely fine, and dance during our Soulful Body sessions, and embrace the quiet whispers of your heart in our Soulful Spirit adventures. It's about time your spirit got a front row seat, don't you think? Join us on this journey. Embrace the harmony between being a dedicated mom and your personal aspirations. Mastering the soul system, because darling, in the noise, find your silence. And maybe, just maybe, a bit of that elusive thing called me time. You deserve to thrive, not just survive. So come on, slide into our world at www.livewellenhanceyou.com/soul system. Your journey back to you starts now. Kurtis Lee Thomas is a best-selling author and one of the most sought-after corporate mindfulness trainers. He's the founder of Breathwork Detox, a modality voted #1 corporate wellness provider of 2023 by HR Manager magazine. He's been featured on the Today Show for making a profound impact within the mindfulness and well-being of some of the top Fortune 500 companies such as Nike and NASA. Kurtis is a committed mental health advocate who recently published the #1 new release, How to Thrive in the Age of Anxiety. He's currently the chairman of Just Breathe Foundation and works with top global brands, athletes, and celebrities to help bring awareness and solutions to the mental health epidemic that currently plagues our families and our employees. Kurtis, I'm so grateful to have you here. A lot of my clients and corporations I work with, they're going through a lot of change, and anxiety is huge. So I would love to kind of find out what brought you into this world to begin with.
Well, my mother had a lot to do with it. Hard to break the ice, you know? Oh, man. I think a lot of pain and healing, unfortunately, it's like that's the path, you know? It's like learn how to fix yourself. And I dipped and dabbled in so many other modalities. And the ones that were the most effective for me, because there's so many things out there, especially now. There's this pill coming out, that pill coming out, and this supplement and that supplement and this modality. And like there's just an overwhelming amount of modalities and supplements. And I remember at one point, I just had so much hope that the next thing was going to fix me, right? And unfortunately, that's not the case. And what brought me into breathwork was, over 10 years ago, I was already certified life coach, hypnotherapist, NLP practitioner, sports science, fitness professional. I was literally just collecting these certifications, and then Reiki master. And then I had all of them. And it wasn't until I found breathwork, it was the only one that literally helped me synthesize all of the skill sets, experiences, and certifications into one streamlined modality that anyone could do. And that's the beauty of it, right? Not everyone can go to the jungle and drink a gallon of ayahuasca, it might help you, but like, it's not for everybody.
Right.
And there's little to none barrier to entry for breathwork, and there is some for even yoga and meditation. Just yoga alone, there is a lot of people that have body shaming issues, right? That don't put on a leotard and go stretch in funny positions in front of people. And 52% of the world's population can't even bend down and touch their toes. And it's the essence of yoga, because yoga without the breath is literally stretching. You need to put the two together. So the thing, what I love about breathwork is, unlike yoga and meditation, the results are immediate and undeniable from just one session. That's important because we do live in this microwave society where people want to see results and they want to see results fast. And let's face it, it's just not realistic.
Not realistic. Not at all. What do you tell those people that are like, I've done meditation, I've done it all, I just can't sit down and just breathe? What do you tell those people? Because we have a lot in corporate.
Oh yeah, no, this is what is for them, right? Like take meditation, for example. If we're going to continue the conversation about barriers to entry, you just said, you started it off, the world is stressed. And this isn't just you, Sarah. This is statistics, right? Yes. That back this up. And Harvard said 60 to 90% of all doctor's visits are stress related. And I read this in Business Insider. In the US alone, US corporations spend $300 billion with a B every year on issues that are directly related to stress. Stress is a huge problem, but people don't really know when they're stressed. And then when stress goes unchecked, it turns into anxiety. And when anxiety goes unchecked, it turns into panic attacks. And when panic attacks goes unchecked, it turns into a bigger monster and depression. And it's like, you have to snip it in the butt while you feel it and be able to manage your stress. You have to do things that manage your stress, right? If you're not in the gym, if you're not doing at least some sort of cardiovascular exercise or yoga. And the reason why like breathwork was it for me was because it was a physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual cleanse and just like a recharge, where the gym's great. I go to gym 6 days a week, but it doesn't help with my emotions, right? It just kind of puts me in a better mood, gives me more confidence, but it's not going to clear out past trauma, right? Yeah. So I want to have a balance in what I do. And I already know I can't do everything, right? I can only allocate my energy in so many things. For me, breathwork was stacked. It had all these benefits and all these things in one. So it was worth my time because it gave those instantaneous results. If the world's stressed, right, and you try to take the average person and tell them to sit down, sit still, and don't think a thought for the next 20 minutes, they're going to get more stressed out, right? Meditation isn't for everybody, right? I meditate. I do it every day. But people who have ADHD, ADD, whatever's going on, right? Every day, we don't realize this. There's a reason why statistics are coming out and saying a goldfish has more of an attention span than we do. And it's because they don't have an iPhone, right? If you have an iPhone, you're literally training your brain every day to defocus. Yeah. Every scroll, like let's just say, I don't know how many years the cell phone been out. Let's just go back 20 years. That's like the equivalent of us sitting on the couch, right? For Thanksgiving dinner, and everyone's trying to watch TV, and I have the remote. And every 3 seconds, I'm just changing the remote, like changing the TV. Like people go crazy. They're like, what are you doing? But yet we do it every single day when we're scrolling on our phones. So it's really hard to focus. So I would say anyone who has trouble focusing or just gets bored with meditation or yoga, come over to breathwork and try it out, because it's very engaging. It's very entertaining. And again, I do all of them, so I never knock any particular modality. But if someone's super busy, which is everybody, and they want to give it a shot, it's definitely for them if they're one of those people.
So what type of breath work got you basically?
It was a deep diaphragmatic breath work, was the one that really shifted my perspective, because I did learn a breathing technique from this doctor. It was a Chinese doctor. She was a substitute. I don't even know if that's the right word. She wasn't my regular doctor. She wasn't supposed to be there. And I was going to pick up my it wasn't anti-anxiety. It was, what do you call those? Lorazepam?
Anxiety.
Anxiety. Yes. I was going to pick up a prescription of that. And then this lady told me, she's like, hey, I'm going to write it for you, so don't freak out. But I'm just letting you know you're on a dark path. It just reminded me of like a Star Wars line. I'm like, whoa, what do you mean? you know, and then she just is like, you know, when you have these in your pocket and you carry them and you take them when you think you're having a panic attack, you actually trigger more panic attacks.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh man. And then she's like, listen, next time you're having a panic attack, I know it's going to be the hardest thing that you ever did in your entire life, but I want you to do this breathing technique instead of taking the pill. So she showed me this technique, and it was literally the most simplest thing. It's straw breathing. You just pretend you have a straw in your mouth, right? So you pucker your lips like a fish and just breathe in and out. You're not pushing it out. You're not sucking it out. You're breathing normal
Mm.
in through the mouth with your lips puckered and then out through. And what it does is it like balances the perfect oxygen CO2 ratio. And I remember 3 o'clock in the morning, and that's how you know I was messed up, because I had a panic attack in the middle of my sleep.
Yeah.
And I wake up, have a panic attack, and then I reach for these pills. And by the way, you're only supposed to take 1 milligram. I was taking 3. So I'd put them in my hand and I was getting ready to take these ones. And mind you, they don't even work that fast. They actually have to dissolve and go in your small intestine before they even get to your bloodstream. So a lot of it is mental, and they do kick in, but it takes like 20 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm getting ready to take the pills, and I do this breathing technique, the same one she showed me, and she was right. It was the hardest thing ever. I wanted to stop and just take the pills. And then right that 1 second before I was going to stop, it was like I heard a pop. It was just like, and then all of a sudden, like, everything, my heart rate started to slow down. My breathing started to get normal, and I actually felt peace and calm. And I don't know if the universe had something to do with it. Be like, this is what the capabilities are of the breath. So that was the first time I had a profound experience. But of course, I needed to learn harder, right?
Yeah, of course.
It didn't kick in. But deep diaphragmatic breath work is what I teach, and I just sprinkle my own thing on it.
Awesome. Yeah, because people, once they experience it like you did, it completely shifts the brain. It's hard to explain, but it's this magical feeling. I always say it's that unicorn moment for yourself where you're like, holy crap, like I'm feeling good. There's something lighter about, and a little bit almost like a weight just starts to slide off of you. Maybe 5 pounds. And then as you continue to work at it, as you continue to get deeper into whether it's breath work or fitness, you just find so much healing from it. So as you took this path for yourself, what did you notice about your body or internally in your soul?
Yeah. Well, I skipped a whole trauma session. So for 5 years, this was many years after that, but for 5 years, I was suffering from a rare stomach condition. And the only reason why I call it rare is because doctors couldn't diagnose me. They couldn't even tell me what was wrong with me. Doctors said something different, and like, no, what's he talking about? You don't have this, you have this. And a lot of the doctors started saying the worst thing you could ever tell someone who's suffering, and that's it's all in your head. And I was legitimately suffering. And I went to every doctor from East Coast to West Coast, spending tens of thousands in just co-payments, went to the jungle, did ayahuasca 14 times, everything you can imagine under the sun. I was very desperate. Like that hope I had before slowly diminished. It had turned to desperation. And it wasn't until I found this one breathing technique, and I actually was put on by I had a CNT doctor, a massage. So CNT is like, I think that's the correct term. And it's a Taoist tummy massager. So she only massages the belly. And she told me that my wind gate was blocked. And I'm like, what the heck's a wind gate? And she's like, that's where all the energy goes in your body and where it comes out. And if it's blocked, nothing comes out and nothing new comes in, and it can really mess you up. She goes, yours is completely cut off. So she's like, try this breathing technique. And she sent me somewhere in LA. I was desperate. I showed up, and one session completely eradicated my stomach condition. And all of a sudden I started gaining weight back. I started to get healthier. I actually got smarter, which is the coolest thing, because I was starting to think I was dumb. And it was just dumb because my gut brain connection, which is a real thing, my brain connection was horrible. It was disconnected. It was eroded. I don't know what the heck to call it, but it wasn't there. So I was always foggy. I wasn't sharp. I mean, I was like trudging through life, but I wasn't really as effective as I would like to be. And I just got my health back. I got my energy back, my focus, everything shifted. And to the point where I was like, oh my God, like went to these best doctors and no one could tell me what was wrong with me. I'm like, how's that even possible? And I was like, oh, because my issue wasn't physical. My issue was energetic and emotional. And the doctors don't they don't fix that. They can't cut you open anatomically and be like, oh, you got stuck trauma from when you were 9 years old, right? They just give you a pill and they suppress it even more. And then it just wreaks more havoc on your nervous system. So it's like, I know this because I watched my mother come off antidepressants, and she was on for 17 years. And she tried to cold turkey, and then she became suicidal. And my mom's not like a sad, depressed, suicidal person. So it was really like messed her up. So she weaned off slowly, and finally, got off. So I'm not against people who take medication to survive. You know what I mean? I'm not against that because I had to do it. But it is a matter of, can you find a way out naturally without sacrificing your mental or physical health? And it's a challenge. I've seen it go great. I've seen it go horrible, both ways. So I'm never I very much try to stand in the middle, between things like that, which is actually the reason I even decided to do this podcast. Because I was looking at the mission, the vision, and I was like, I like the standpoint of balance in this world, because I think that's what the world needs most, is just balance and compassion for self, and to not yourself up or judge yourself or others. It's just is super in alignment with kind of who I am and who I want to show up in the world.
I really appreciate that. It is an important mission of mine to have people at least aware that they can find balance in their life. Will our life be balanced all the time? No, that's close to impossible, but we can have the tools to bring us back to balance when we need it. So I know that you have written an incredible book now that we all need, because anxiety, like I said at the very beginning, is high. So what brought you to write How to Thrive in the Age of Anxiety?
Yeah, man, I think part of it, I just wanted to tell my story and, like you said, offer the most effective tools that help me. I think that's after suffering for so long and then finding things that actually work. And I'm like, okay, people need this. So it was more of a tool or a guide rather than just a bunch of stories about me personally. I knew no one wants to hear that, but I'm like, hey, this is how messed up I was, and this is what worked. You should try it if I were you. By the way, I'm not a doctor, So the book it's super resourceful. And then another reason was around that time, I don't know, 2020, I was teaching breathwork for some years, and I had all those experience and certifications. I want to start training people to do what I do, and not just teach breathwork, but everything that I learned, because I learned how to market these mindfulness businesses, and a lot of certifications, they don't focus on how to get clients, right? It's just here's a certification. Good luck, And I just felt like I had so much value, and I also wanted to put everything that I knew about breathwork into one centralized location. So all my students that I certified didn't have to go and read all these different books. I kind of took the best parts of all the most important things that I learned, and then my personal experiences, and then put them into just one easy to read book where they can just kind of get it in all one serving. So between those two reasons, that was it.
With that. So would you say that a breath work is a great way to detox your own life?
Yes. And the reason why is because very much go into woo-woo world, right? And how it could be a spiritual and emotional detox. And emotional is not really the woo-woo world. But let's just start with the physical, right? There's things that I've learned even after being certified. And I'm like, wait, is this true? Can somebody Google a ChatGPT this? No, there's no way. And one was when I started a program called Breathwork Bootcamp. And all of a sudden, it was strictly for just emotional detox, mental clarity. That was my intentions. All of a sudden, people started sending me pictures of their waistline. Oh my God, I lost 9 pounds. I lost 12 pounds. I'm like, what the heck? Why is people losing weight? I don't understand. Yeah. I literally did not know, because I just, wasn't my thing. So then I started doing some research, and I've discovered that 70% of all the toxins in the body are released through the lungs. Right. And then 8.5 out of every 10 pounds of weight loss is through carbon dioxide. It's literally through breath work. That's 85% of all weight loss. And you would think like, wait a second, what about these other forms of secretion? It's like, no, 70% of all the toxins and 85% of all the weight loss is actually through the breath. So another big one is if you combine that with the fact that everybody's stressed, and when someone's stressed, the adrenals release cortisol, and cortisol is what is responsible for making you eat crappy foods, and it puts on weight right around the belly area because you're going into survival mode. So when you start this deep diaphragmatic breath work, you're cutting down your cortisol, you're lowering your stress. It becomes this guilt-free weight loss program. You're getting rid of all these toxins, and like people were just dropping weight. And I was like, wow. So that was the physical. And then the emotional is, I'd say 60%, maybe 50 if I'm like lowballing it. People who go through my sessions cry, have a big cathartic release. And all crying is a huge energetic release, pent up energy we've been suppressing. And it's just a cleansing of the soul, right? So all these people cry because they release. And that was happened to me the first time. To clear my belly wind gate, let's use the proper terminology. I let out the biggest, ugliest cry, Sarah. It was like horrible. It was like, it looked so bad, but it felt so good. Like if someone see me, they'd want to hug me and tell me it was going to be okay. But really it was like tears of joy because I was releasing. I was witnessing myself release something that I held on for like 35 years. And it was beautiful and it liberated me. I literally became lighter, more buoyant, more free. It was a beautiful thing. And I'm like, everyone needs to experience this.
Yeah. So you've been doing this for a really, really long time. What is something that I didn't know about the physical? It makes sense because of fitness. And like, I'm just thinking any workout you do, you have to breathe. But what is something that was extremely profound for you to see with clients that were going through some sort of trauma?
Yeah. I kind of stopped answering this question, and here's the reason why. I would get so excited because I've witnessed miracles. Like literally, I witnessed miracles, like miracle after miracle, to the point where I'm just like, there's so many things that happen. Like as far as somebody having a breakthrough and crying and releasing things that they've been holding on to. I'll give you an example. I'll give you a weird one just to kind of see how far I can go out. There was women who were trying to get pregnant with their husband for 9 years and they couldn't do it. And when I don't know what these doctors are called, but there's like special doctors you go to that help, like fertility doctors, I think. And they're expensive because I actually have a friend.
Expensive.
And I was like, what? That much money? My breathwork sessions are $37. And this lady went through a breath work and she literally felt this like heavy energy from the breath lift out of her belly uterus area. And she saw like a flash of a baby in front of her eyes. And she's like, oh my God, like I can get pregnant now. And then I don't know if it was a few weeks, she ended up reaching out to me and she told me the whole story. And she's like, I'm pregnant, but you have no idea. We've been trying to do this for like 9 years. And I saw the vision and this and that. I felt the energy lift and she had an energetic blockage. And this is a real thing. I know it gets a little woo-woo for people who are like very science, but keep in mind, like I do this for NASA. I do it for, corporations who are very left-brained, and I kind of make it very palatable for them. But sometimes I feel the energy from like people like you, and I'm like, no, her listeners can't get, they understand this stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
So that was a big one. Mark Victor Hansen, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul with Jack Canfield. They sold 500 million, 500 million books. He reached out to, well, actually, no, I did a live event in Tucson and afterwards he was there. He came up to me and first thing he's looking at me and he's like, hey, I need your email. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, here's my email. And he's kind of like looking at me, but he's not saying nothing. And I'm like, you good? And he's like, oh yeah, I'm great. He was like, I'm processing and I need to reach out to you after I do. So like 2 weeks goes by, he reaches out to me. Mind you, he's one of the godfathers of this whole personal development thing. And he's like, hey man, I have dipped and dabbled and got certified in so many different things. I've been teaching this stuff for eons. And he goes, I've been trying to forgive this one person for over 30 years. And I did one of your breathwork detox sessions and I finally forgave this person. And he goes, you have no idea how good I feel. And I'm listening to his story. I'm like happy for him. And then I'm like, at the same time, I'm like, please let me use this testimonial. You know what I mean? A great
Totally.
testimonial. Like, I pray you let me. And I asked him, like, hey, do you mind if I? He's like, absolutely. That's why I emailed you. And I was like, oh man, awesome.
So beautiful.
But so many cool stories. It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah. No, I love to hear it. I also love that you said the brain and the gut are connected earlier, because I think that's something we forget a lot. We store a lot of trauma in the gut, and just being able to use that breath work to connect there can just release all the toxic energy as well as the toxins in our body. So, where would you say that corporations kind of want to go into? Because I was just thinking of a client of mine. Where would you go with corporations that are stuck in that retention process? They're trying to keep their employees afloat when things around them are chaotic. Maybe there is a change in a company. Maybe there is just a transition happening in general. Where would you start their team?
Yeah. First of all, you got to get everyone on the same page. Second of all, they need the tools. And then they also need to be motivated to use the tools, right? That's the key. That's the trick. And then you have to produce them quantifiable results, right? Because that's the thing. If they're not seeing results, especially in corporations, they'll lose interest extremely quickly. And it's hard to retain them from helping the thing that's going to retain them in the company.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if they keep going on the way that they are, they're going to be a part of the burnout statistics. And I have a lot of corporate people and people just burned out who come get certified with me. They're like, I'm done with this corporate world, and they're extremely burnt out. I love working with those people because I've always been about business, but corporations, it's simple. Like, the people that work there are people.
Yeah.
They have the same problems as everybody else. It's just because they're in their company doesn't mean that you have to treat them differently. So when I go in, I'm like, hey, I'm going to do my thing. If there's anything you don't want me to do, like swear or they just tell me, and I won't do it. I'll abide by your rules. But once I get on that stage, I'm going to do my thing because it's effective and I know it works. And that's connecting with them, like really inspiring them, moving them. And that's why I stopped doing these motivational speeches. And that's how I started off as a motivational speaker. But you give that speech and then it dies down and they forget about you at lunchtime. But if you have them lie on the mat and they have this mind altering, like dimension hopping experience, that day's a little weird at work, I will say, but you changed, it's like shifted with a little bit more consciousness, a little bit more self-love, a little bit more healing than you had if it was just a speech. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, no, for sure. Another one that I was thinking about with the motivational speaking, there is this interesting thing that happens when companies will bring in someone that's a contractor to take them through a health and wellness specialty course, if you will, where they're going to tell them all the things that they should be doing better. As a consultant or professional that has done motivational speeches, what do you think companies are missing with these types of programs?
I don't know. I guess it depends on the program. Like, how long is the program? What's the purpose of the program? Because what I've noticed, and this is a little sad, that just companies don't really know much about mindfulness in corporations. So they're just like, let's do yoga on the grass at lunch and think that's going to fix everything. It's like you really have to invest in them because you will lose them.
Yeah.
But back in the day, I don't know, like 10 years, 15 years ago, or even just like even pre-COVID, like it was about, how cool of an office could you have? Like Google's building ping pong tables and this and like, teleportation machine over there. And like people are like, I want to work for Google. That's how they were like attracting people. Now no one gives a shit about that because they don't even want to work in the office anymore. Right. So, and now that they're putting more workload on lesser people and they're burning out faster and they're sitting in front of a computer screen all day, they're not in nature. It's like their health is deteriorating and they're not freaking robots. They're people. So it's like they have to put more money, forget all the fancy buildings. Okay, use that money and put it towards your employees' well-being because it will turn around and bite you. It really will. I think as soon as they start realizing that, they'll make decisions to invest in more or better programs like that and actually get behind it in whatever that looks like for each corporation.
Mm. What were you doing before breathwork?
For breathwork, I was doing motivational speaking. I wrote my first book in 2014 when I released it. So I was kind of all into that, and I started certification collecting in 2011.
Got it.
So
Cool.
just kind of like, and then I do like little coaching here, and then I had some side businesses that was growing simultaneously. But for me, it was just a massive experience and discovery phase. Until I found breathwork, but even before 2011, I'm a recovering serial entrepreneur. It's like I was an octopus. I had my hand everything.
Yeah.
I just realized that is not conducive to the life I want to live. I had a marketing agency, a confectionery company, alcohol brand. I was in a lot of different stuff, and it was fun. I learned a lot about business, but it wasn't in alignment with who I was supposed to be. So I just chalk it up as experiences.
Yeah. Well, all those experiences led you to the person you are today. I always strongly believe that. And it's beautiful to hear your journey. And also, that will inspire other people. If they are right now in corporate, you could be an entrepreneur. You could go get a certification, discover something that really lights you up, either as a side project or actually go and do it full time. So I think that's very important for people to know and to learn about. And also, it gives them a permission slip to do what they want, which I think is so important.
Yeah.
How has stress saved your life?
Well, I think stress almost killed me. Stress gave me a boom in business.
For sure.
So did I hear that properly? Like, how did?
Oh, yeah. How has stress saved your life? I always ask this to every guest because it's so different for everyone.
Okay. Jokes aside, how is stress saved my life? Well, I think the first thing that comes to mind for me, oh, this is cute. We're giving stress its little, it's love. For me, it's kind of messed up because I work better under stress, and I hate that universe. Please don't record me because I don't want that coming back. But I do. I work well under pressure. I remember when I started selling programs, one of the things I learned about selling programs, they're like, sell the program, and then once you sell it, go create it. And I was like, wait, no, you're supposed to create it, then you sell it. And it's like, no, like every program that I've created over the last, I don't know, like whatever, 8 years, I sold it, and then I put a date on it. And then I had to work my butt off to produce it and launched it on that date. And like that's unneeded stress, right? You don't need to do that to yourself. But I work good under pressure, and the stress has served me in that way to be more successful. A lot of things so I guess I don't think it's that bad. I think not managing your stress can be detrimental to whatever you're doing. So I think, yeah, that's my final answer.
It's true. So I love that. I wanted to ask, how can people connect with you and where can they find your book?
Yeah. So I would say, if they want to connect with me, I'm on Instagram, Man from the Stars. Just go right on Instagram, type in Man from the Stars. I'll pop right up. Pretty good with like reaching out to people. So people have, questions. They usually go through events and they have oh my God, this happened. And I try to like talk to everybody. So I'm pretty active on there. And right there, on my Instagram, there's links. So you can click that, and there's links to breathworkdetox.com. They can go there. So pretty much you can get a hold of me on my IG.
How did you come up with Man from the Stars?
Oh God, that's another podcast.
I would love to have you back. So I think I'll save that. That's awesome. Okay. I like that. We're going to leave you with just a little bit of curiosity then. Till next time. But
I love it.
I really appreciate you coming on. It was so delightful and also very insightful. We, as a society, think that we just take stress to a whole nother level, and we don't know how to just sit and breathe. And so I think the first step with the diaphragmatic deep breathing that you were talking about is great. And then they can go and find Breathwork Detox and start there. So I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And remember, everyone, to speak well to yourself on this self-love journey. Until next time, take care. Thanks to Dan Lieber at Beckett Brown Music for the intro and outro music. You can keep in touch with me on Instagram at Sarah Elise Coaching. If you're looking to improve your health and wellness, check out my business, livewellenhanceyou.com. While you're there, join the Live Well Enhance You email list and receive exclusive offers for our wellness programs and events. Until next time, take care.